Hey guys, welcome to another math video. So for this video, I will be talking about inequalities with one variable. Okay, so what we're going to do, these things here, so let's jump right in. Okay, so how do we do this? So, just like with equations, you want to combine any like terms on either side of the inequality if you have any. Then you want to isolate the variable on one side of the inequality and then solve. So, as you're solving, if you multiply or divide by a negative number, what you have to remember also to do is you gotta switch the direction of the inequality symbol. And that's going to be a little bit more confusing to remember, but it'll make sense once we see the example. Okay, now the last step is the graph. So if you have an inequality symbol that is less than or greater than, then you're going to use an open circle. But if you have an inequality symbol that's either less than or equal to or greater than and equal to, then we're going to use a closed circle. Okay, again, this will make more sense once we start seeing the examples here. Okay, so let's jump right into some examples so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're going to solve the inequality. 2x plus 2 is greater than 24. So just remember, when you're doing inequalities, you got to graph them too. Okay, but first let's solve. So first step was to combine any like terms on either side of the inequality symbol, which we don't have any. So next step is to isolate the variable on one side of the inequality. So since all of the x's are already on this side, I'm going to move this away from the x's by subtracting 2 to both sides of the inequality symbol. It gives me this. Now I'm going to solve for x. So I'm going to divide by 2, and it's a positive 2, so we don't have to worry about switching the direction of the inequality symbol. It'll stay the same. Okay, so this is what I get. X is greater than 11. So this is what the graph of that looks like. Okay, so let's break this down. So, since you have an inequality here that's just greater than, it's not greater than or equal to, so we're going to use an open circle. That's why there's an open circle here. Now, what's nice about this, the inequality is that if you have them set up this way, where the variable is first, the direction of the inequality tells you which way your graph should be going. So you see the pointy side here looks like an arrow. It's pointing to the right, so it should be going to the right. Nice little cheat method to use there when you're graphing. Okay, so that was pretty straightforward. So let's try another one here. Okay, so we're going to solve this inequality. 4x minus 3 is less than or equal to x plus 30. Okay, so again, first step, combine like terms on either side of the inequality. So no like terms here, no like terms here, so we can go on to the next step, which is to get all of the variables on one side of the inequality side. So what I like to do is I like to move the smaller x to the bigger x. So x is smaller than 4x, so since this is positive, I'm going to move it here by subtraction. So I subtract x from 4x, I get 3x, everything else drops down. Then I'm going to isolate the variable, so this moves over here. So I'm going to add 3 to get rid of it. So I add 3 to both sides of the inequality, simplifies to this, then solve for x. So when we solve for x in this case, we're dividing by 3, positive 3, which means the inequality symbol does not change, stays the same. That's what it simplifies out to. And again, if you have it in this order, the inequality symbol will tell you what direction your graph should be going in. Okay, so since we have x is less than or equal to 11, equal to is the important part here. So at 11, we're going to have a closed circle. Okay, and since this arrow is pointing to the left, this should be going to the left also. Okay, pretty simple, I hope. Okay, so I got one more example here for you. 5 minus x is less than 4. Okay, so no like terms on either side of the inequality symbol to combine. So we're going to start off by isolating the variable. So I'm going to move the 5 here, away from the x's. So I'm going to subtract 5 to both sides. So I get this, because 4 minus 5 is a negative number. So we always want to have our variable to be positive. So right now we have a negative in front of our variable. So you can either multiply by -1 or divide by -1. In this case, it doesn't matter because the coefficient is just 1. If it was anything bigger, then you have to divide. Or if it was smaller than 1, you'd have to multiply, like if it was a fraction, for example. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to divide by -1 to both sides of the inequality. And since I'm dividing by negative, that's going to make my inequality symbol change directions. Okay, so that's the confusing part about this one. So just, pay attention to that. And again, graph. Greater than, open circle, because it's not greater than or equal to. And the point, it's the inequality sign, the pointy side is pointing to the right, so your graph should be going to the right. Alright, so I hope that was pretty straightforward, easy to follow. I try not to make it too complicated for you guys, but that's the gist of it. Basically, you're just taking your inequalities and you're solving them as if they were regular equations. The main difference is when you're dividing by a negative number, and right at the last step there, you're gonna, or even multiplying by a negative number, you're gonna switch the direction of your inequality symbol. So if you want to check out those examples again, go ahead and just go back to those. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for my next video. Alright guys, take care.